Hey guys, Para here. I've kind of wanted to make a documentary kind of thing for nightlife, and I think now is probably a good time to do it. Sorry if this video seems kind of lacking in some places, I'm kind of winging this. With that out of the way, welcome to my developer's commentary on nightlife. There's a few things I should probably mention that convinced me to start working on this level. Interestingly enough, I actually wasn't convinced to make this level from the Forza Horizon 4 soundtrack, which I saw a few comments talking about. I've actually been sort of a fan of ODESZA's works over the years, mostly from Sound Dodger levels actually, which isn't probably that surprising. Levels that come to mind are Always This Late and Say My Name by Karma, and Line of Sight by Autumn Lotus. Kind of recently though, Manic Volcanic and Karma collabed on a level to Late Night. Honestly, this level isn't too special, but there was something about the song that kept me coming back to the level. This is honestly something I overlooked for a while, but I borrowed some aspects of another level when coming up with a theme for this one. My good friend Sam actually made a level also called Nightlife, which, for lack of a better term, revolved around getting fucked up, probably from drinking her ass off. Hopefully he doesn't sue me for borrowing his level's name, but I kind of thought of Nightlife as a title, and didn't remember Sam already made a level called that. It should be worth mentioning that you should definitely give this level a try. The decoration isn't the best thing, but the gameplay is pretty good, and the theme of the level is unlike anything I've ever seen before. There is another level that another friend of mine made that also inspired me, but I'll get to that later. Originally, I wanted to start the level out at the beginning of the song, but I'm kinda glad I scrapped the layout I had for that part because it really wasn't that enjoyable. This honestly was where I hit my first rough patch, because I'm not the best when making slow gameplay. In an act of desperation, I called up my good buddy Reventuli and asked him to make the gameplay for me. Me and him have actually joked about doing a layout collab before, but to my surprise he actually came through with gameplay. I can't really thank him enough, because the gameplay he made was low-key better than anything I could have made. While he was working on that though, I was making the layout for the rest of the song that I wanted to use, and by the end of September, we had a finished layout. Judging by this video, this layout's quite different from the gameplay in the finished product, mainly in how it's structured. Originally, I had no clue how to decorate Reventuli's gameplay, so I asked Hadion, another friend of mine, if he could structure it. After some harassment, he came up with this, which was really weird, but definitely much more manageable. After some small edits, I came up with this, which are the structures I ended up working with. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward like 2 months or something. This is around the time where I finished decorating the first half of the drop, and it was about to decorate the second half. My idea was to make the effects similar to the first half, but throw in some new stuff in there. I doubted that I'd need the same type of structures I did for the first half of the drop since I made those myself, so I enlisted the help of Spaze. Spaze has been someone that has followed the development of this level closely ever since I started working on it, and I felt that I owed it to him to at least contribute somewhat to the level. Soon enough, these were the structures I got for the ship part. These were a lot more manageable to work with compared to Hadion's, so the finished product doesn't look too different from Spaze's work. Now that the layout was mostly finished and I had some motivation, I began decorating the second part, which was the part I had the most ideas for at the time. The structures Hadion managed to make were terrific for what I had in mind, which used block designs loosely based off one of my friends' level. If you don't already know of it, and chances are you might not, it's called Babinga Ate the Snow, and it was uploaded by Bagingi123. If you know me, you should know that I actually adore this level, and I think the block design I was inspired by did the entire part justice. I can't really think of a better way to envision what I had in mind with the part, and I owe it to Bagingi for letting me use his level as inspiration. The rest of the part is just random stuff I threw together that somewhat resembles a nightclub, so there's not really much else I can say about this part. The next part I did decoration for was the first part, which I thought should be a city, seeing that I had a narrative in my mind I wanted to fit. I felt that if the player was going to end up in a nightclub, they should come from a night out from the city, so I planned accordingly. I didn't really intend this section to be too complex, just something to kind of set the mood. One nice touch I did that I think puts it apart from other city-themed parts in other levels is the movement in the background. I don't know, I just really like how the background's really fluid. Another nice touch was the block decoration within the buildings themselves, which I tried to make more different from your typical building by having the lights and railings pulse in and out sound randomly to the song. It's also probably worth mentioning I decided to keep the names at the start of the level there, just because they fit well there and I couldn't find a better place to put them. Interestingly enough, I don't think I put my name anywhere in this level, just the people that helped make it. There's a few Easter eggs in this first part, so I'll just gloss over the ones that I can name off the top of my head. Right below the beginning, there's a block with a :3 face. This was made by yet another one of my friends, Ultimate Chicken, who likes to decorate one block in the level. There's also these little guys who are affectionately dubbed minions that are present throughout this part. There's actually some lore behind them, where this one is a cuck and is constantly watching his wife get rammed by her boyfriend, while his kid wants nothing to do with him, but my Twitch chat knows better than I do. Lastly, these Japanese texts pay homage to quite possibly one of the best levels ever conceived, but I'll let you guys translate that yourself. The robot part, as empty as it is, might have been the most difficult part to decorate in this whole level. This is where I really halted progress on decorating, since this was right after the first preview's release and I wanted to live up to that level of hype. I wanted to keep this part really simple, but I couldn't think of anything that did the level justice for the longest time. I played around with making some fancy lines do stuff in the background, but ultimately I came up with this. Interestingly, this part had the most amount of technicality behind it, using over 200 groups alone just for movement and appearance. It actually got to the point where I used the physical labels on each block as the center of rotation to conserve objects. In hindsight, this was actually kind of smart on my end. As you might have guessed, the molecule I used in this part is LSD, which was me desperately trying to nod at the fact that this level is about tripping after a night out in the town. Thankfully, people got the message, so the molecule did its job. Surprisingly enough, I don't have that much to say about the first part of the drop itself, although I should address the elephant in the room. Yes, this part does bear some resemblance to levels like Glide and Lit Fuse, and I'm pretty open to acknowledge that. I feel like these levels, among others, introduce ideas that work almost perfectly with the theme I had in mind. In any case, I made sure to at least build up on them. Besides that, this was probably the part that I had the second most trouble decorating overall, since I had a lack of ideas for the block design. Originally, I wanted to have some kind of opaque effect happening with the outline, but this ended up looking kinda shit. After thoughtful reconsideration, I decided to scrap the entire block design, and after some time, I came up with what's in the present level right now. Thankfully, thinking of a background came pretty easily, although you might notice that the background effect is actually different in the final product compared to the second preview. This was mostly because the original effect lacked shit, and I was already eating up objects, so I needed to optimize it. I tried removing the glow, but that made the effect barely visible, so I decided to scrap it and replace it with a star effect I did for the second part of the drop, which was already mostly decorated at this point. The second part of the drop was surprisingly a lot easier to decorate compared to the first, but that's more because I just ended up copying ideas from the first part and building on them. Some notable differences in the design include these gradient blocks, courtesy of Spaze's structuring, and these moving blocks that make the whole level seem to blur, which I really like. However, I think the effects shine best in the last part, where I included throwbacks to the earlier parts in the level. Originally, I was gonna have them only flash back to the city part because I was lazy, but Arb, one of my playtesters, suggested I also include the second part in there, which I'm really glad he did, because it really brings the whole part together a lot better. It's probably also worth noting the minor gameplay change I did with the ship part, where I replaced this teleport portal gimmick with a gravity portal. I'm glad I made this call because not only would the original gameplay be a lot worse to decorate, but by keeping it simple, the gameplay plays and flows much better. The end screen wasn't something I initially intended to have in the level, since I just wanted the level to cut to black. But as time went on, I realized how important it would be to credit the playtester somehow. Someone suggested that I ask Rhythmical to make an end screen, so after much deliberation, he made this masterpiece with the help of Killnex. I actually ended up needing to fix how the end screen appeared in-game, so that was an experience, I guess. Lastly, we have the playtesting period. This part actually didn't take too long to accomplish, spanning only a few days total. I will take this time, however, to thank all my playtesters for bearing with me while I took my finals, which were happening at the same time. If it weren't for them, a lot of the minor bugs I overlooked while making this level would have been left untouched. There's not much else to say about this period, but at this point, I was approaching the finish line. On December 10th, almost 3 months after being conceived, the level was ready to be uploaded. I hopped on Twitch to stream myself verifying this, and the rest is, well, history. 11 days later, on December 21st, Nightlife finally got featured, thanks in no small part to you guys. While Vibrant's videos certainly helped, the attention this level has garnered otherwise helped immensely with getting this level out there. I can't thank you guys enough. I never thought that I'd get to this point as a creator, and even now, it baffles me that I've gotten this far. I really can't stress this enough, but I appreciate each and every one of you that's tuned in to see this level completed. Thank you. Well, that about wraps this video up. I hope I covered a good chunk of what this level had to offer for me personally, but if you feel like I missed anything, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to reply to all your concerns. Until then, thanks a lot for 500 subs, and take care.